For the first time in his life, a young man stepped into the billion-dollar skyscraper. He was a ghost in a world of glass and steel, a world he had only ever heard about in his father's tired whispers. He looked completely out of place, his shoulders hunched, clutching the straps of a faded gray backpack as if it were a life raft. His wide, nervous eyes darted across the expanse of polished marble, a floor so clean you could see your reflection in it. He knew this floor intimately, though he'd never walked on it. He knew it from the stories his father told. The man who had spent countless nights on his hands and knees, mopping away the day's footprints, making it perfect for people who would never even notice. And just like they never noticed the shine on the floor, they didn't notice the boy. Businessmen in sharp-tailored suits and women in elegant dresses power-walked past him, their phones pressed to their ears, their minds on million-dollar deals and corporate ladders. They flowed around him like a river around a stone, completely oblivious. It was a familiar feeling, a phantom ache he inherited from his father, the feeling of being invisible. Just like they had always ignored his father, the quiet man in the background, the one who made their world pristine while they slept. He swallowed the lump in his throat and headed for the elevators, a gleaming bank of brass doors that seemed to lead straight to the heavens. The ride-up was silent, a smooth, almost imperceptible ascent. The numbers on the digital display climbed higher and higher, each one a step further away from the world he knew. He got out on the 38th floor. The air up here felt different, thinner, charged with an energy he couldn't quite name. Power, perhaps. He clutched a worn off-white envelope against his chest, the paper softened by years of being handled, folded, and unfolded. It was a simple, standard envelope, but in his hands it felt as heavy as a brick, weighted down with unspoken words and a lifetime of what-ifs. This was his father's final unspoken wish, a mission he had failed to complete himself. He walked down the plushly carpeted hallway, the silence broken only by the soft thud of his own worn-out sneakers. The walls were lined with abstract art, pieces that probably cost more than his family's entire apartment. He felt a growing sense of dread, a voice in his head screaming that he didn't belong here, that he should turn back. As he approached the large, imposing wooden doors at the end of the hall, a security guard stepped forward, his posture rigid, his expression stern. "Can I help you, son?" The guard's voice was polite but firm, the kind of voice that was used to turning people away. The young man's heart hammered against his ribs. He felt small, insignificant. The guard's eyes flickered over his worn clothes, his cheap backpack, and an unspoken judgment hung in the air. For a moment, the young man's voice failed him. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. He could feel the guard's patience wearing thin. He took a deep breath, the air tasting of expensive cologne and recycled oxygen. He finally found his words, and they came out in a quiet, trembling whisper. "My father..." He was Mr. Hale. There was a beat of silence. A profound, heavy silence that seemed to absorb all the noise of the city outside. The name hung in the air between them, Mr. Hale, the janitor. The guard's entire demeanor shifted. His shoulders relaxed, the hardness in his eyes softened into something else. Recognition, maybe even a flicker of sadness. They had heard the name. Of course they had Mr. Hale, the quiet janitor who never caused any trouble. The one who had worked the night shift for over 20 years. The one who always had a gentle smile and a quiet good evening for anyone who bothered to look his way. The one who had passed away last month. The news had traveled through the building's undercurrents, a whisper among the cleaning staff, the security guards, the late-night workers. The guard swallowed hard, a visible sign of his discomfort. He took a half-step back, clearing the path to the CEO's office. He didn't say a word, but his gesture spoke volumes. Permission granted. The son gave a small, almost imperceptible nod of thanks and walked past him, each step toward the CEO's office feeling heavier than the last. It felt like he was walking through water, pushing against an invisible resistance. His father had walked this same hallway every night, bucket and mop in hand, but he had never, ever approached this door. This door was a boundary, a symbol of the chasm between their world and his. The young man wasn't ready. He was just a boy, trembling and scared, thrust into a role he never asked for. But he was here. He had made it this far. And clutched tightly in his hand, he carried the one thing his father never found the courage, or perhaps the right moment, to deliver himself. The secret he had carried for decades, now resting on the shoulders of his son. He raised his hand, the knuckles white, and knocked on the door.